and welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. This is Jasmine. It is presently, today we are Thursday in Quebec. It is snowing yet again. Yes, I love snow. I know, it's beautiful. Yeah, whatever. Today I have a guest called Aubrey Thorne. Hi, Aubrey.
Hi, Jasmine.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So Aubrey lives in Florida, where there's no snow whatsoever.
I'll trade in a heartbeat. I love your latitude. That climate up there, I've always lived in the wrong latitude.
Really?
Yes, I belong north.
We could switch. We could do a switch.
Yes.
I'll go babysit your dog. You come babysit my dog.
All right, deal.
So to everyone who's listening, Aubrey was one of my guests when I did Super Coach Academy in 2020, and when I was doing the Let's Chat About, which you could still find on the YouTube channel if you guys are interested. And we hadn't talked in such a long time. And then she showed up in my feed and I was like, wait, we need to invite Aubrey. So here she is. And so I wanted to invite her because, first of all, I think she's hilarious. I don't know if she's going to be hilarious today, but I think she's hilarious.
Some days I'm funny, some days not so funny.
And I wanted to have a conversation with her and see how she's living the life she wants today. So would you like to just maybe, to the people, since I know you, but the people who are listening don't, can you want to introduce yourself and say where you are, what you're doing?
Sure. I have to kind of just
think about it.
No, peel back from that high stakes question. Are you living the life that you want today? And then you stressed today. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm always working on it. Okay. Wow. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and ask myself that. So let's see. My name's Aubrey, which you've already established. And I'm mainly an astrologer.
Yeah.
I call myself the counseling astrologer and also coaching astrologer, because the astrology also often leads into longer coaching projects with people. I'm also one of Michael Neal's super coach trained 3 principles coaches. And I also did a little thing, not a training, but a group with Barb Patterson, which was really great. Have you ever studied with her or done anything with her?
No, I've had her on the episode, on the show, but I've never done anything with her.
Yeah, she's great. So what else? Did I say I teach astrology at Stephen Forrest's, the Forrest Center for Evolutionary Astrology, trying to help train future astrologers to be good, open-minded, growth-oriented counselors. And what else? I write a great newsletter that people love, if I do say so myself. I get lots of emails every Friday. Oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, this is so good. So I feel like it's really worthwhile free work.
I just signed up. I'm just saying, I just signed up.
Good. No, because in it I write the weekly horoscope, which is very digestible, non-astrobabble sounding horoscopes. It's, I try to actually pull in a lot of 3 principles thinking into the kind of a growth mindset based horoscope, and give people, just a little bit to reflect on for the week. And then I also put in breath work tips, or just breathing tips rather, to try to help people get breathing better and more, and random bits. And then I do a little piece of creative fiction at the end, which seems to also kind of pull in like some 3 principles ideas. So anyway, that's it. Oh, and I have a podcast.
Yes,
like 10 episodes into a podcast called Aubrey the Podcast, which is a complete experiment, but super fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very cool. I'm super interested. I already know I've got people that listen to the podcast who are probably already asking questions. Jasmine, are you going to ask this? Jasmine, are you going to ask this? Sorry, guys. I hope I'm going to ask the questions that you want to ask. But I want to know. So obviously, you know, astrology is not like the whole, okay, you're an Aquarius and everybody's the same. Every Aquarius in the world, here's your horoscope for today, right? It's not necessarily like the old astrology that I've heard, that I've read in my youth, I'm going to say, because I haven't done anything since. But I remember when we talked before, like I was talking to you and you said something to me like something about me. Like I told you my date, my birth date, and you literally told me something to the point that I was like, how the hell did she know that kind of thing, right? And I was really amazed at that. And I'm trying to remember, it's going to come back to me. I'm going to continue talking and it's going to come back to me, and then maybe you'll be able to pinpoint what the heck I'm talking about. But I want to know how, because we talked offline and you were saying it's hard, it's two different mindset, you know, to do 3P coaching and then to do astrology. So I remember when we talked past, you were trying to mix them together. And now that we talked today, you kind of said, well, I do this first and then I go to this. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So it's two different perspectives, astrology and the sort of three principles view of how life works. They're both true, you know. One is perhaps more, no, I can't even say that. I was going to say one is perhaps more true than the other. One is more generally true. The three principles, it's like this giant umbrella that, you know, and underneath that umbrella are all these tools that human beings try to use, to learn how life works, to learn how to have a better life, how to be happier, how to be healthier, how to have less stress, right? There's all these sort of tools underneath this big umbrella called the three principles.
Yeah.
And so, it is a very direct route to better health and happiness, to go straight to the three principles. But a lot of times people actually want better tools in their life. And instead of, but I guess astrology is the best system I've ever found or know of. And I've studied a lot of systems that gives a person a very holistic, and here's the key word, and compassionate view of how and what they're made of. I should say on about what they're made of. Now, the how we use our astrology makeup, how we use our wiring, how I use my particular characteristics and personality traits and tendencies and, you know, desires and ambitions and fears, is that all boils down to free choice, free will.
Yeah.
Right? And so once we get to the free will stage, then it's an appropriate place to bring in the three principles.
You're basically pointing to truth. Like you're still pointing to truth, right? It's just that you're using astrology.
I'm definitely pointing to truth, but I'm not pointing to all truth. Like, no, that would be a lifelong reading. I would make an appointment with you for Tuesday at 5:00. 3 years from now, we'd still be talking. You know, that's to point to all truth. It's I think this of an astrology reading as narrowing down the choices for somebody, narrowing down the vision so that something is graspable. like, what does it mean to be a Pisces? What does it mean to have, lots of planets in Aries? There's sort of a call to action embedded in the symbols, and it gives a person maybe a good idea or a reason that they never understood, for something they never understood quite as well as they'd like to. Astrology tends to make sense of our material world. It also makes sense of our thoughts, and that's just one, it's like level one. It's kind of like, let's make sense of your thoughts. And before we tell you, like, you don't have to attach to them, and you can go beyond them, and that it's just a thought. The fact is that we think thoughts, and depending on the way we're wired, we tend to think certain thoughts according to our particular unique astrology. And it's helpful to identify what the high choice, higher version of that looks like versus maybe the lower, bad habit versions of thought might look like. So I guess this is a very long-winded way of saying what I found is that astrology tends to describe very well our patterns and tendencies, and how to have better ones, how to have better choices, better patterns, better habits, and a more holistic, compassionate understanding of ourselves and other people.
So if we look at it in the more concrete, let's look at Jasmine, okay? Just because I'm the host and I'm the only one here. Well, there's both day, but she doesn't mind, So like, I'm an Aquarius. Well, it depends, some people tell me that I'm a Capricorn. Some other people tell me I'm an Aquarius. I was born on January 20th. Yeah. So I'm on the cusp, and I just identify better to the Aquarius than to the Capricorn, So what I'm understanding is that being born a Capricorn, being born an Aquarius, I have these tendencies, because of my astrology, I have tendencies of thoughts, like I would.
No, it's not because of your astrology. Your astrology is just describing the energy of when you were born. It's kind of like everything that was born at that time, like everything that happened in that moment. If there was like a funny interaction at a restaurant between two people at the moment you were born, that moment has the same flavor and characteristics of you being born. Everything has an astrology chart. It's just the weather at the time, and we kind of get an imprint of that weather in our systems. So it's reflecting a moment in time. You reflect a moment in time, and then that moment it's like a seed. It can become so many things. Like, say there were 10 million acorns born at that very same moment that you were born. Each one of those acorns is destined to become an oak tree. But depending on this acorn, got eaten by an eagle. This one got stepped on by a little kid. This one got picked up and dried out and put on someone's mantle. This one went through a drought. Do you see what I mean? It's like there's a tendency to become an oak tree. But, one might get hit by lightning and fall down. One might lose its branches. One may get peed on by too many wolves and, suffer like the acid consequences. I don't know. But everything, it's like the core intention to become an oak tree is there. So the core intention for an Aquarius has a whole set of characteristics. And then there's so many other things in the astrology chart to look at what else was going on. There were the Mercury, the planet of communication that reflects communication. That was somewhere doing something. Venus, the planet that reflects how we relate to the world. That was somewhere doing something. Does that make sense? And then you make choices according to how that energy is evolving in you over time.
Yeah.
But an Aquarius, as a general rule, if it's not colored by too many other forces, or, there are other things that can kind of overshadow it, but deep down, an Aquarius craves individuality. And that is very different than a Pisces. Pisces doesn't crave individuality. Doesn't mean there aren't Pisces that crave individuality, because they could have a lot of planets in Aquarius also. But there's like a core endpoint, like an urge to become a unique individual, whether that means rebelling and going against the grain, whether that means making up new rules or doing something humanitarian for the world. I mean, there are generalizations that a lot of Aquarians would say, yeah, man, that's me,
Yeah. I definitely cannot be part of I cannot follow the herd. Like, I'm not a herd follower for sure. Like, I had this thought, I don't know who I was talking to. I was like, you know what? I'm a natural born leader. So I just gotta like, I've been trying to hide it. I've been trying to, but why? That's what I do. So I'm sorry. At my age now, I'm kind of like, you know what? This is what I am.
Yeah. And so that you've just illustrated is exactly why astrology readings are so valuable. And I'm not saying you should have gotten one 20 years ago, but 20 or 30 years ago, if you did get one, you would have gotten a message from the astrologer, hopefully, if they're a good one.
Yeah.
Sort of ordaining your weirder tendencies, ordaining that rebellious streak as positive and good, and and sort of taken all of the times where you felt like you didn't fit in and you just wanted to step out and lead and do something your way, put a big stamp of approval on that and say, that's the path to follow. It's all about awareness.
Because all my life I was trying to hide it.
Yeah, and it's so common. And then around the age of 42 to 44, you get sort of a wake-up call of like, I gotta be me. It starts to become really strong in us. And at some point, you step out and you become yourself, or, things go,
Yeah, well, that's what
because the universe will always be trying to wake you up, right?
Yeah, like, because there's one thing that I've seen this year that I'm getting more and more. Like, I saw that, like, my very first major insight in understanding the three principles was that I'm not a bitch.
That was your first insight?
That was my first insight, because I was like, well, I know. I was like,
oh my God, that is hilarious. And so
because most of the time I was a nice person, but then, I'd get caught up in my head and I'd be like, oh yeah, well, fuck you. And then I'd become this major bitch. But I thought I was that person instead of being the other one who was actually nice. So this whole time I'm like, and I don't want to be seen as a bitch. So I wouldn't go out, like I wouldn't speak up. I wouldn't show up. I remember a guy told me once, I said, you're kind of cute. You're really my kind of guy. He says, well, you might be my kind of girl, but my kind of girl really shows up. And I just didn't understand it, at the time. But I could see how I wouldn't show up. I would be just a reflection, a made up version of me.
Yeah, interesting.
And that was kind of my first insight. And it took me a while but that was like, it was such a relief. First of all, oh my God, Aubrey, I'm not a bitch. It's kind of like, wait, and then lately, I'm in the past couple of years, I've been settling into Jasmine, like me. What is it that I think about? And it's, what is it that I think? What is it that I like? What is it that I love? And it's okay if you don't.
Yeah.
That wasn't present for me. That was like, I have to hide it because people don't, because I'm the weird one.
In the best possible way. That's your differentiating,
Yeah.
List of qualities. Everything that makes you weird is everything that makes you wonderful. And to have compassion for that is the entire point of astrology. Mm. It's the whole point. It's to point out exactly what the traits are that, we should have compassion for, that we can have compassion for.
So you said that you studied a lot, and I remember you telling me you were doing a lot. There was many different aspects of that you were doing. Why do you consider this one the most compassionate?
Astrology?
Yeah.
I think because it has a very concrete way of linking certain tendencies and emotional reactions to life as something that doesn't necessarily originate in your life experience exactly, and B, might even originate before you were born. So it takes into account, it's not a victim kind of mentality, but it does take into account that we have experiences that we come into this world with. Like any baby in a hospital, a few seconds old is not just a blank blob ready to have a personality applied onto it, or nurtured out of it. There is an intact human being that has a soul, right? And this soul has emotional memories that, most of which get, most of which are forgotten through the birth trauma. But something survives birth. Something survives conception, gestation, birth, to where there's an orientation to life that's automatic. And it's like an automatic response to people or situations. I mean, and some babies, they want to be swaddled really tight, and you keep the room really quiet, and they need that calm and being held. And some babies, like my daughter's like, get me out of this swaddling, device, and wants her arms out and is fussy being fed. And she wanted it her way, and she just was a little bit like, she was strong with her preferences. Other kids are like, they have to run around like hypermaniacal, like just machines, like just destroying everything and exploring. And some just want to play and paint and sing, and, so this is like something kids are too young to pick this up early. So, I mean, you've got, just to take it one step farther and weirder, I mean, you can read count after count after account of, reincarnation stories, about, the kid in the middle of, I don't know, South America or India who remembers being an American World War II pilot and can recall his name and his buddies, and has zero connection or ability to know those details. It's been documented. And so astrology says, hey, you've got some ancestral past life stuff going on here, and it's affecting your thoughts. It's affecting your behaviors, and it's not your fault. But the awareness of these, that we carry this information in our DNA, and that it's so subconscious or unconscious or whatever, is valuable awareness information. Because once we know that, we don't have to take it seriously. We don't have to act according to, those impulses. We can learn and sort of learn our way past these obstacles, they turn if we're not aware of them, these things turn into our worst habits, which turn into failed relationships and failed achievement stories and depression and all sorts of stuff. It's all from those unconscious habits that aren't necessarily our quote fault.
Yeah. It's so funny because the in the Flow of Life community, that exploration that you didn't come to, you couldn't come to, not that you didn't, but you couldn't. I'm not beating herself up. Beating her up. But Georgia was actually addressing that. She was kind of like saying, she was like, when my kids were born, I'm sorry, there was already something there. It was not a blank canvas. Like
it's not.
She was actually saying that in there. So
yeah. And so, and then that's a great, sort of linkage to everything that the three principles are talking about. Our thoughts are going to think. Our mind is going to think. It's just what it does. It does a really good job of it. But where all those thoughts are coming from is a whole other, that's a can of worms. We don't need to analyze it. We just need to, it helps people to know that maybe some of those impulses aren't originating somewhere in themselves, their true selves, their highest selves.
Wow. Well, that sounds like you're having fun.
Oh, I am, Jasmine. I love it. I love astrology. I've been doing it for a long time, and now I'm teaching, and that's fun. And yeah, I do. It's good work.
Sounds like you answered the question, are you living the life you want?
Well, I am working on it. There are many things that I would like to have bigger and more and different, but that's just but that makes it even more fun.
Yeah, I think that in the moment, like for me, living the life I want is like, am I in the moment? Am I here? Like at one point, I don't know if you said it on camera or off camera, but you said, Jasmine, I don't remember a lot of the stuff I say. I'm the same. I don't remember. I don't have memory, but man, I'm in this moment right now.
Yeah.
And that for me, yeah, that in itself, just being in the moment is so fulfilling to me. Yeah.
I mean, it's everything. There isn't anything else.
Yeah. So I want to thank you, and I want to know, how do people, like, let's say somebody wants you to do their astrology. How do they do that?
All they have to do is go to my website, aubreythorne.com.
Okay.
And that's Thorne with an E and Audrey with a B. And if they want to get a feel for my, the style of my work, my newsletter has a lot of my sort of voice and thinking all over it. But, if you want a reading, you just go to Work With Me or Readings. I can't remember what it's labeled, but there are plenty of places all over the website, and you just book it, give me your birth info in the form, and that's it. Fantastic. And then you get a fire hose of
information
about who you are and how you work, and all the amazing choices that are open to people. That's what's so fun to tell people, the opportunities and the choices that they can keep an eye out for. That actually really helps. You don't miss things because you're not in the moment for a moment.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for accepting to come and chat with me today.
Thank you, Jasmine.
And everybody else, I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation, and that you're going to that you're going to, repost, you're going to subscribe, you're going to do all the good things that, just are going to help me spread the word. And in the meantime, I'm going to say, dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want. And I'll see you next week. Bye.